So I'll put that over there. Good morning. Buenos dias.
Buenos días.
Slides? Thank you. Asians communication. All right, people. My name is Matt. My name is Romain Murphy. I come from a country where mountains stand green and tall, like Amazon goddesses, guarding the island since the dawn of time. I come from a country where people talk in proverbs, in a language where succulent images abound, like juice and sunshine in a mango pea. I come from a country where rivers are the long flowing hair of the beautiful and revered goddess Earthly. Yes, people, I come from Haiti. As you may have guessed, I'm not here to talk about Haiti as the poorest country of the Western Hemisphere. If our foundation had $1 for every time this expression was used, we'd have an endowment that would rival Harvard University's endowment. Actually, I'm thinking about it like we can pay. Can you just go back and see how many times it's been used and send me $1 for each of that? At any rate, I'm here to talk about the work of Fondation Communautaire Haïtienne-Espwa, which is better known as the Haiti Community Foundation. Haiti was the first Black republic that led the global dismantlement of slavery and changed the history of the world. We have one of the richest heritages in the world in terms of our history, our art, our culture, and most importantly, the spirit of our people. Narrative matters. Our country is often portrayed as hopeless, a dangerous narrative. Do we deeply invest in hopeless causes? No, we don't. We may support them, but often we fail to invest in them in the long term. I have met hundreds of community leaders who have been keeping Haiti alive at the cost of their own mental and physical health. They are pillars of hope. Potomita, as we say in Creole, which means the central being. In Haiti, we say l'espoir fait vivre, which means hope keeps us living. Working with communities, for communities. The Haiti Community Foundation is a testimony that hope is a strategy. Dreams are a catalyst for transformation, and community leadership is the driving force for effective, sustainable change. Imagine if the leaders of Haiti's revolution in the late 1700s had sent a proposal to funders. And they had stated, we plan to defeat Napoleon's army and build the first Black independent country through a successful slave revolution. 1,700 people, they would have been met with derision and skepticism. A bit of the same reaction that met me in a small Haitian organization when we said that we plan to set up a Haiti-led, Haiti-based, bottom-up community foundation. So let's talk about ShiftThePower, because a lot of it is about mindset. It's mental, people, it's mental. We global South leaders have to navigate fields and sectors that constantly put us in a position where we have to prove ourselves. We have to prove our capacity. We have to jump through thousands of hoops. Sectors where we are made to feel that we are less knowledgeable, less valuable, and frankly, we're made to feel powerless. And the danger in all of that is that somehow we tend to internalize some of that, and we have to be careful, because shifting the power means that we need to embrace our own power and the power of our communities. I know about the fear for failure. I know about the worry that we won't be able to change things. Because the dark side of all of that is that it is so scary. Because hope is so potent, and you're worried about letting the communities down. You can't sleep. You gotta try to come true. And you wonder if what people say and are skeptical they were, if they were not right. But guess what about power? Persistency is also a superpower. We can't give up, people. Even nowadays when we get depressed, because everywhere we turn, there is something depressing, sickening that is happening. Hope is a strategy, and we need to embrace it as much as we need to embrace our power. And if things are to change, our allies, our partners also need to change their mindsets. So I am thankful that, for example, 2010, after the famous or infamous Haiti earthquake that really created a collective trauma for all of us, I realized that we had to change things. Yes, I was traumatized like everybody else, but I realized the pattern in terms of all of the resources going to international organizations, local organizations, local Haitian organizations, and businesses getting 0.6% of the billions that were going to Haiti. And I remember just going in and saying, we need institutional change. We need to change the framework. We need to change the way things are approaching. Few people were listening. I don't know how many doors that got closed at my nose. But the bottom line, I'm thankful because talking about our lives and people who can actually believe in change and in small groups, commitment and power to change things. I remember having a conversation with Jenny Hudson, and she chose to believe that we could indeed set up Haiti's first community foundation. So I am thankful for a life like that, and like the entire American Foundation, among others, Fondation Communautaire locally. I'm thankful for my family, and my husband is not here, but man, do I owe this man big time. So, people who are there, who are here to help us in our journey. But what is the story? We cannot shift the power if we continue to play the game, if we do not break the rules. We know that the systems reward conformity. We know it's easier to go with the flow. So in so many ways, even though it gets painful, because you do get punished, we cannot shift the power without breaking the rules. So, unapologetic confession, we broke many rules along the way. So, usually, people go and say, well, to the community, we're coming. Now, we ask if Haiti needed a community foundation. And we move forward when all said yes. When our local steering committee decided to have a pilot program in the Grand Anse in Haiti, a region left behind, we asked regional leaders if we could come, and they designed and led the planning process. It took 2.5 years, with community leaders giving up their weekends and many evenings to complete what was the first cross-sectoral planning process of the region. We did it with tens of thousands of dollars, as opposed to hundreds of thousands of dollars that usually such endeavors cost. That is the power of community leadership and commitment that I'm talking about. We have to harness it, people. Skepticism is traditional funders asking us why we were bringing people together. You should raise the money first, Marie-Rose, one funder told me condescendingly, and then talk to the community. That's usually how things are done. Strategy is the reconstruction of hope in a country where communities had and have been marginalized from their development process by both international stakeholders and, I'm ashamed to say, their own government. A country where leaders had not and are still not being told that their leadership is an asset that keeps the country together. Strategy is nation building. I'm not talking about just community building here. And it may sound big, but it is intentional in terms of making sure that we create a nation. Nation building based on the understanding that the fragmentation of our society is one of the root causes of our state failure. Our planning process, Tête Ensemble, which means heads together, is an antidote to this toxic fragmentation as Haitians come together across class and gender, transcending colorism and political divisions. Was it easy? Is it easy? You bet not. It's hard work, it's mediation, consensus building, it's ongoing training and conversations. Difficult, challenging, painful conversations. But it is not just possible, it is necessary. The efforts of community mobilization and our constant nation building efforts and strategy, the results, a regional network of over 600 leaders that mobilized itself after Hurricane Matthew, interviewed 260 leaders on their community's priority, worked with them to put their families back on their feet. Lever camper, as we say. The same network stepped up to the plate again at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, brought together local, national, international stakeholders where there was no proactive official plan. I remember getting a call from Alsan Leopold, the regional leader, and it's like, Marie-Rose, no one's doing anything. No one in the region, no one national, no one, and we're scared. And I said, well, if no one's providing the leadership, we just have to step up and do it. So we reached out, educated dozens of community health workers, supported 60,000 community residents. It wasn't just about prevention, it was also about ensuring that COVID-19 victims would be safe and be supported within their communities. Same thing happened after the earthquake. And yes, we are one of the most vulnerable countries in terms of climate change. And can we change climate change? Can we not have it happen? But we can prevent and we can mitigate and we can work to make sure that communities are ready. So every time we're not starting from scratch, yeah. So what have we built with hope? And ESPWA, by the way, means hope in Haitian Creole. An authentic community-led Community Foundation. It's not to be redundant, but that's true. Community-led community foundation. Because some community foundations are not necessarily community-led. Okay? A model for development, humanitarian and community philanthropic action in a context dominated by top-down process and institutions. And it's very hard, people. The barriers, I wasn't a spring chicken when I started that process. And somehow I was naive, I didn't realize how difficult and how much of a shark tank it can be. But I know now. But at any rate, we kept on pushing. Life-changing impact for over 150,000 community residents and their families, and more. Because what it meant, we're not talking about just money, it's working with people. And we're not talking about also, you know, the usual, well, it's partners. We're talking about really, really working with people, being embedded in the communities and trying to make sure that we're all coming together, okay? And also that people know that it's possible. Because the problem is that I make a difference between action and intentions. And so many of us have great intentions. But what about our actions? Do you realize that sometimes when you come into our communities and you say, we know we're going to help you, and you know, and yeah, you may not have the tools, you don't have the resources, we're going to help you. Do you realize what it does in terms of impact? What it makes community leaders feel? The results of these actions, even if you're going at it with the best intentions. I'm not interested in saying that, oh yes, you know, all these people are in. No, not at all. But we need to be thoughtful and think about our actions despite having all of the great, fantastic, good intentions. Okay? So, over the past 3 years, we've granted over 400,000 US dollars, more than 53 million goods. And yes, it's money, and it's still important. It's a tool in terms of making things happen for our community, working with communities for them. In grants to support disaster relief, reconstruction, and proactive community-led development with over 40 community partners. We have re-engineered mutual solidarity, a community savings program that allows low-income people to build and access capital at a low cost. We all know how expensive it is for low-income people to access capital. 5% a month. Cumulative, multiply that by 12. Our model, and again, it is not bad intention, but think about the impact of something like that, a framework like that. Our model has helped these mutual, we call them musos, increase their bottom line by 66%. We're also linking these various mutuals into networks, creating an economic development infrastructure. Why? Because a society is only as strong as its network. Power can blind us. Shifting the power also means being able to open our eyes and see the compelling life force that communities hold and appreciate the knowledge they possess and their capacity for sustainable change. We at the Haiti Community Foundation have done a lot with limited resources, and we're very thankful for all of the believers who have helped us along the way, from diaspora to individuals to the communities themselves, who actually listen. And I'm getting like tears in my eyes because I remember going to that community meeting and saying to people, I don't have any money, but I believe that we need to start with the communities and they get through. hope is funders and partners and stakeholders actually coming together and realizing the power of community-led and realizing the power of long-term visions and being willing to take on that journey with us. So what is next? We're looking at a response fund for local. I'm not talking about, sorry people, international organizations that are in, I'm talking about local organizations, right? Because as you know, local responders are always the first to intervene after disasters. And shifting the gift of resources to them, to us, saves lives and makes a life and death difference. Rapid response enables us to save lives. Another funder is also another believer in community-led development, is also looking at learning from us. And this is not about bragging, but it is amazing because it is very rare that people actually realize how much they can learn from us and how much we hold the solutions. So we're going to be looking at developing a manual for the mutual solidarity that we've re-engineered. And we're also looking at other projects focused on preparedness and prevention. So we're excited about that. Our models and strategy. Models and strategy are not just applicable to Haiti. We have shared and we will continue to share our story and learnings with groups in Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe, North America, and beyond. Here's the story, people. Between war, the climate crisis, growing inequality, and unprecedented migration, our world is facing a daunting poly-crisis, a perfect storm. The only thing that will save us is working together across race, class, politics, borders, gender, artificial boundaries, to help each other in earnest. Building a global community connected through a spirit of solidarity is the only hope for our world. Only.